this is Robin with Weight Loss Apocalypse, and I'm excited to talk to you today about body image in history. I want to go over different body images in cultures throughout the past that are very similar to thin supremacy in that they're very narcissistic in nature. Typically, body images that are supported in culture are images that represent and symbolize your wealth, your health, your safety from disease, from spreading disease. It's a sign of sexual purity, the idea that you are clean, that you are rich, that you are wealthy, that you are safe. So there's been different ways in history that this has been communicated. So I'm going to start, and all of this information I discuss in my book, Thin Supremacy, Body Image, and Our Cultural Battle with Weight, where I present this idea that we live in a culture of thin supremacy, where today thinness and leanness and bodies without body fat or less body fat are seen as superior and symbolized in that healthy, clean sexuality way. So we'll start with one of my favorite examples of this, foot binding. So in China, for over 1,000 years, generation after generation taught that the value of a girl is based on the size of her foot. So the smaller the foot represented hard work, pain tolerance, the willingness to sacrifice, to work hard on something, to dedicate yourself. And it was symbolized as sexy, youthful, intelligent, wealthy. So the foot size, you can see in this example, the normal foot size, a teacup, and the size of this girl's foot. The ideal size of the foot was 3 to 5 inches. As you got closer to 5 inches, your worth went down. So this is the same like shoes. This is a hand. Hold on, sorry. That's a hand, like this. Look at that. That's the size of the feet. This is what the feet ended up looking like to try to smush yourself into those tiny little shoes. Here is a young adolescent girl, permanently debilitated with her small foot supremacy. Here's an example of where they used to, and some tribes still do, bind the head to make the head elongated. It's again a sign of tolerance, education, money, wealth, wisdom. And that's a young little baby. There's so many different pictures. Another time in history where it was very narcissistic. Again, narcissistic meaning that these images in their perfection symbolized your superiority over others. So one of those was in the, I think this is Renaissance era with the wigs. So at the time, not only was there like a high prevalence of disease and lice, but sexually transmitted diseases like syphilis, where they would have major welts and problems with their skin and their hair would fall out. And so the more wealth you had, the more you could invest in wigs. And you can imagine with the narcissistic way that body image can present itself, that they became competitive around whose wig was better than whose wig and whose wig was bigger. Then they used different powders to make it look, have different scents, different powders and colors to differentiate. You can see that we do this probably similar today in different ways with our cars and our houses. And look at this one with her boat on her wig. This was real. Another way that in different times that women were valued based on their sexual purity. And so if they could repress their feminine sexual bodies, they were seen as more valuable. So here's an example of how they plucked their eyebrows and shaved their eyebrows, plucked their eyelids, and then they wanted to make their hairline look longer. So the forehead, the elongation was seen as, again, a sign of intelligence, wealth, youthfulness. Here's another famous picture. You can see the lack of eyelashes, eyebrows, and the long forehead. Another one. And another one. Again, one of the things I wanted to talk about in this video is objectification and what that is. When you look at definitions of objectification, what you're going to find, there's a lot written about objectification Because body image, in a way, if it's goes beyond just fitting in, blending in to your culture, which is very normal and natural for us as a human instinct in terms of safety. When your goal is to use your imagery to manipulate other people and being taught that that's what your role is, that's objectification in short. So it's a way, in a way, you're making a person an object, a person or an animal, a thing or an object where they have no purpose, no life, no reason except to bring you emotional pleasure. It's like claiming ownership over a person. It's kind of gross. But when you look at body image, such as, the foot binding, I'm trying to get those pictures. When you look at foot binding, the whole point of this is objectification, that her role is to use her body for someone else's desires, because that basically puts her in a position of being totally disabled. Here is another body image in culture with neck rings, with different cultures. This is a child with neck rings. Here is a grandmother with neck rings. You can see as age goes, they continue to add them. It's very painful. And here we are with everybody doing it because, you got to fit in, ladies. You got to fit in. Let's do it. Like tradition, body image tradition, again, foot binding lasted for over 1,000 years. And I know that at some point it was abolished, but it still continued. And I know that in different cultures, this still does exist. And this isn't just happening to women, it happens to men too. Obviously, they wore the wigs, and here's an example of men. This is body image and survival mechanisms where, how body image works. If that's how you are trying to fit in or blend in, and it's how you're to survive, especially if you're surviving with that narcissistic body image where you are superior. If your brain, if your beliefs attached to, let's just say, muscular development, it magnifies in your brain your criticism around what your muscles are, what they look like, and it distorts your perceptions of your body shape and size. And in this case, this is clearly happening here, where he's trying to magnify the size of his muscles to be very large, right? To be superior. Here's another great example of this, magnification. And in some cases, it's not just magnification, it's minimizing something like foot binding to try to accentuate it in a magnified way. So in this case, corsets. So here we are. This one, we'll do this one first. You see this corset, Victorian era, turn of the century, I think the late 1800s, the 1800s, throughout the 1800s. You can see this itty bitty cinched waist, taking the ribs, pulling it down, and then opening up that pelvis. So here is what it looks like to your skeletal system. Normal person wearing a corset. Here's another, you can see this one cinched up tight to crunch that, and there's so much damage going in. Again, the idea is you're objectifying someone, so their sole role is to be appealing to others. So here we have it in modern day. This is a modern day person wearing and glamorizing her sexual body with a corset. Here's another person showing the glamorized idea of sexuality. Here we are glamorizing it again. You can kind of see the narcissism in this picture. Glamorizing it, elongating look how long her femur bone is. I mean, is that even real? Magnifying accentuating the smallness of the body. Here we have Kim Kardashian selling her waist trainers for all of us who need to have that body image to be included. In Japan, women would paint their mouth black, paint their teeth black as a way to show that they were married, that they were exclusive. It was a symbol of beauty and wisdom. Here we have the mouth ring. Again, what does this do? It has no function. This is with it, without it, other than a sign and symbol of worth and value. Typically, a sign of pain tolerance, a sign of stick-to-itiveness. So I want to get into our current body image of thin supremacy. Now, this is not new. This has been going on since I was a child. This obsession with the abdomen, right? You can see here, intense lower abs, all the pictures that are constantly out there, accentuating and fixating on the stomach. I mean, you can imagine this is also in men. You can see that their goal is to be more muscular, more defined, but not always. There's also thinspiration or thitspo for men too. You can see here's another thin supremacy. Oh my God, I cut off right there, but you can see they were doing a comparison. So here's something that is really kind of more modern. Thigh gap, a new one. The collarbone test. Here's another thigh gap picture. You can find these everywhere, how to do a thigh gap. Here's another one, this bone bridge. This is new. You know, everybody's accentuating the bones. This is thinspo, you guys, trying to show that your lean, adolescent-like body is the ideal body. Can you see? There's that collarbone picture again. I need to be skinnier. This is actually found on Thinspo Pinterest. Thinspo for men. You can see all of his ribs. So glamorizing these ideas around the body. Fitspo. Yeah, this is even more insane because this requires hours of exercise and dieting. Constant dieting. That's the thigh gap for the athlete. Look, sweat like there's no tomorrow. See this glamorizing worship of the body, the leanness, the exercise. So it's also fitness. It's really quite sad. It's a slow process, keep going. And then we also have the injected lips, which is like the new thing. Well, it's not new. It's probably been about a decade. Okay, you guys, that's everything I printed out today. I could spend hours and hours and hours showing you the examples of our modern narcissistic body images that are available. Ultimately, if you're trying to fit in, that's normal, but what if everybody is showing this concept of that thinspo or these images that cause physical harm or psychological harm? That's where we have these social and cultural trends with like eating disorders, orthorexia, this unhealthy obsession with health in your food and the purity in your food. Again, this is where we get into the mental illness of it all that I describe in my third book, Body Supremacy. So, okay, you guys, that's it for now. You can find a lot more online, but I would say keep on the lookout for this worshiping and idolizing of these images as a way for people to prove that they're superior to, and look at it in yourself. What are you doing? And are those images of supremacy influencing yourself, your sense of self, and how you evaluate your own body? That, I think, is the most important takeaway from this is, are you using these kind of narcissistic, extreme, very, very kind of abusive forms of body image to define how you relate to your body? So if you want to relate different, you might want to question those images and ideals that you believe define your worth. All right, you guys, like the video, share it, and we'll talk to you soon. Get the Thin Supremacy, link is below. You can buy it in print. It was published today. Yay!